Hello, beautifuls, and welcome to another episode of The Gifted Table. As you can see, your host, this is your girl, Dr. Melanie Harris. I have taken the seat next to this beautiful queen, Dr. Antoinette Gutierrez, and we are going to be talking to her today about She Did That. So we're going to just find out what are all these amazing things, my friend, you have done. And thank you so much for taking a seat at the Gifted Table. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling amazing. I'm very excited.
I have known Antoinette for some years now. Her and I both got our doctors through the same institution, Bremen University. It's now UMass Global. But this lady has just been fighting the fire, pushing through. She's an amazing high school principal, and I just wanted to honor her today and have her at the Gifted Table. So, my dear, tell us, how long have you been at your current site and with your current organization?
So the answer's the same. It's 7 years in the current position and district. And previously, before that, I had been, education's my second career.
Okay, so tell me the background. Where were you? This is a career change for you, and she's exploding in it, doing absolutely amazing. So what was your career path before you transitioned to education?
Well, I'm not sure if it was a career path, but it was definitely a job. Okay. So my job before was
there's a difference.
Was in property management. So in San Diego. So I'm born and raised in San Diego, and I actually was in. I worked at hotels, and then I worked at apartment communities, and I ended up getting into leadership in that field in property management, and then all the while going to school to get to start teaching. So I was really excited to start teaching.
So everything you have done, even leading up through your journey, has been in customer service and service to others.
Yeah.
Has that always been your gift?
No, I didn't think I had one. So I grew up with the oldest of four, and, everybody had their little niche. My sister sang, my brother did sports, my younger brother was the baby, so everyone babied him. And so I was like, I don't have any talent, right? I was always the jack of all trades, master of none. So I didn't really fit anywhere, which has been kind of a theme of my life. I didn't fit anywhere. So when I started realizing, in retrospect, right, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually a teacher. I'm a teacher, regardless of the position that I'm in. I like to support, I like to teach, and I like to, develop people. And I think that's been the same regardless of the roles that I've had.
And I so love that about you. And one of the things that really stands out to me is your teaching, your guidance, your support for other women in leadership. And you have been on several panels. You've been on many different conferences. So tell us a little bit about that journey and some of the topics that you've spoken on that you believe has been very impactful for others.
I'm a huge advocate for fairness, right? And I mean, you can say equity, but there's so many layers of what people associate with that term. Yes. So I think growing up, I had an experience. Everyone has a story, and my story really revolved around just things happening that are unfair. Okay. And there tends to be a disproportionate amount of unfairness with women and in a variety of fields. Right. And so I feel like it's all of our roles to support each other. And I really never understood the mentality of if you don't have it, that gives me an edge to have it, because I don't like winning and losing. I'm never good at sports because there's a winner and a loser, right? Like I can watch games, but I don't participate in them because I don't like to see that there's a winner and loser. And I really do believe there's another mentality, like there's enough for everybody. And the mentality of prosperity, and and I think you've heard me say this at a panel, but there's so many seats at the table. Just bring some more, right? Put another leaf in the table, like Thanksgiving, right? just make it bigger. Just keep on, there's no reason why we have a limited amount. And so I really am, I love other people's success because I feel like, and I totally claim it to them, like, I know them, right? They're so cool.
That's my girl.
Right? That's my girl. And that fills my cup. Oh, it really fills my cup.
Well, I must say, she is truly gifted, everyone. She's truly gifted, and she speaks from the heart. You always speak from the heart. What's been an experience that you've had so far as a leader that you believe has impacted someone else's life based on how you have been of service?
Okay, that's hard because when you're trained not to talk about yourself and like what you do for people.
But even as a woman, I think we have been conditioned.
Yeah, no,
that,
100%. That's why I'm struggling with it.
Yeah,
so I'm like, no, I'm going to do it, but like, give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Go ahead. I'm going to give you a minute.
I really want to go above and beyond to support women, and that has been the case in this organization, and specifically where like people couldn't get hired or for whatever reason are getting passed up, right? So really just taking an active mentorship, not in a formal role, like, hey, I'm getting paid as a coaching principal, right? Because that's more of a financial, I guess, situation. But really more informally, like, hey, let's talk through it. Let me kind of give you feedback. Let me put my ear to the ground and find out what's being said so I can give you that feedback, because sometimes people don't even ever get it straight. So that you can then figure out where that perception is coming from or not, or decide, this is not an organization that matches my values, and helping. I know it's hard, right? It's not because we're very loyal normally as women, but also giving them permission, saying, no, you have this, you have the capability of it, and this organization is just not recognizing it. It's not you. So maybe you just need to find that better fit. And I've done that for other people who are now at different positions, way higher than me at this point, and I've also done it for the staff here. I have a couple women who did not think they could do leadership, but I saw it. I saw it, and they were fearful. And then sometimes you have to just say, this is going to be your role. You're going to be the department chair. No, you're going to be the, teacher on assignment or whatever.
Take your seat at the table.
Take your seat. I've got you, and I'm right here with you. Right. I'm not going to throw you to the wolves, but you can do this, and you might surprise yourself. And then they start moving up, and so it's awesome. It's awesome to watch.
You said something to me that I think a lot of women do not do, is that's give themselves permission. Permission to change, permission to take risk, permission to be afraid to do something new, and even permission to stretch themselves, or permission to acknowledge the things that they've done. And you've helped other people do that. What would you say, or how would you describe your leadership style?
I mean, I think collaborative is the first thing that comes to mind, but I'm a change agent. So that's not always the best in all situations. So it's not the best fit for every organization at every time, right? So there's a time and a place, but I'm a huge advocate for doing what's right. And right now in education, just in general, we have still maintained things that have from 100 years ago. And so at what point are we really going to try to change a system? But you're trying to advocate for a change for students that don't look the same. And I just mean, even with technology and availability, there's just so many things now that we're not very good as an institution of keeping up with the day and time, right? Whereas business, and this is where my business background comes in, if you don't reinvent yourself every 7 years, you're dead. Blockbuster's gone. You have things because they weren't.
Remember Blockbuster?
I'm obviously talking to a certain demographic. For those of you that used to rent videos, actually go to place, not on demand.
Right.
When TiVo was the only way to record TV, so I'm dating myself right now, but that's okay. I'll own it. But there's this sense of, you have to continually growing. And our institution does not demand that of us because there's an expectation that we're just going to be here. So I think I really look at how can we change? It's a lofty goal. How do we change the institution to better be flexible to serve the kids that we're serving right now? Right.
Yes.
And that in turn also is you have to serve the adults to be able to serve the kids. And so I'm a huge advocate for it. It is about the kids, but my role, I don't interact with the kids as much. My role is to support and love on and build up the adults that work with the kids.
Yes.
And I think that's where my role lies.
And not only is your role there, but your role has been even serving outside of your organization, right?
Yeah.
And having these panel discussions and those types of things. So what has been some outside experiences that you have had that was unexpected?
Some of the work that I'm doing with equity. Because it's interesting. I'm getting an interesting outcome, and I think it validates the need for the work for, my peoples. Because if you look at the demographics of education and you keep looking at it, people keep doing their presentations on it. And this is more recent. That's why I think it's in my mind. that, we have to be able to work on legislation 100%, right? But that also can be changed based on whatever leader is able to vote on whatever at that time. So you have to simultaneously really work on hearts and minds of people, right? We're so divided right now. So how do you get to that in a safe environment? It goes back to instructing, right? So I have been able to do some teaching sessions with equity through, county or even at higher ed.
Nice.
And so with that, though, it's interesting because you creating that safe space with all the love in your heart. Because I'm very much into mindfulness and love and legitimately coming from that space of I love you and I want to give you a safe space. I'm not going to judge you from where you are. I want to help you just question and just evolve and grow, right? That's the way you can do it in any kind of way, shape, or form. And so some of the outcomes I've gotten from that really were satisfying because I was like, oh my gosh. And there was this self-awareness of oh my gosh, I never recognized it before, but they were safe to do so, which is not always, always occurring when some of the trainings that we set up and things with good intentions.
For sure. And how would you say you define equity for the population, for the people you serve, be it your staff, be it your students, your parents? How do you define it?
So in my perfect world, I also tell my staff, I live in a perfect world. Okay. But I also I also know nobody lives there with me. Not everybody lives there with me.
You're living alone in your perfect.
I do, but that's okay because my job is really to get people from reality to my perfect world right now. And I mean, that's kind of, arrogant to say my perfect world, but in the perfect world where we accept people as they are, whomever they are. And that, I mean, there's such a range. If I start listing them, I'll forget somebody and then somebody will comment that I forgot them. And so I don't want to, but that goes, the ranges from, the biases and expectations or preconceived ideas of certain ethnic groups to ability levels, to language, to, I mean, you can list them all. There's all kinds. And then the other thing about assuming that people are monoliths, right? Like XYZ population is like this. And that's not true. We're all different. And so I wish that we could see every kid individually. I mean, now how do you do that systemically, right? That's the conundrum. But how do you that every kid is seen and supported as they are? I think that's kind of where I live. And
worse in some of the environments where you have spoken and you've had crowds of people to just feed on what you were giving them at your table at the time.
Okay. So, a lot of different things. Like I get invited to certain things because I am very authentic in my representation of my view of education, having come from outside of education. So it's a little bit different than some other people. And then also, being white on the outside, but culturally I was raised with a lot of different things. And so I had some identity things. So I'm very versatile, right? And a part of different cultures. So because of that, I am invited to the table, figuratively and literally, in different contexts. So right now I'm actually on the Black Educators Pipeline Work Group for the state, as an AXA representative with some of the other people that are doing work in LA and things like that. I have also done mostly at conferences, like they'll ask me to speak or I'll submit something saying, how do we, because some of the other stuff that I've spoken on is community interaction, parent engagement. So I've done that in our community as parent engagement kind of things. I've also done it at conferences with, AXA events or CALSA events or what have you. I also am the I'm trying to get my title right, co-director of the AXA Co-Administrators Academy.
Nice.
And that's the second year running. So I got to be part of the inaugural group, right, to train and develop co-administrators. I've had the pleasure of being able to just how do you balance life and work? Is that even possible, right? And what does that look like? And I think that depends on who you are.
Right.
And so I think from what I recall, those are the different levels that I've been able to do. I'm very active in AXA. Yes. So Ledge Action, I've been able to go and advocate for, kids on behalf of AXA.
Yes. And she did that. That's why she's at the table. I absolutely love her. And she's being very humble right now. But oh my gosh. Okay. And you talked about work balance, home work balance. How do you do that? You're a wife, you're a mother. How do you find the balance for your own self?
You marry someone that understands how you are. I don't know. I've always said I'm not a nurturer, but I think that's wrong. I'm actually not, because I nurture everybody else. And so that was a little bit, it took me a minute to be okay with that, actually, because I was like, I'm not a nurturer, I'm the disciplinarian. And then I realized, oh my God, I nurture everybody. So especially here at school and staff and stuff. And that was like, that had some problems with that. I had to process that. But in my family dynamics, I have an amazing husband who loves being in the caretaker role. Like, he works, but he works for himself. So, for example, my son got sick yesterday, and, he literally went and picked him up. He had a tummy ache or something. I don't know. Took him home, and he was like, that's why I like working for myself, because I can do things like that for my family. I'm not going to do those things. That's not my priority, and my love is helping others outside, I think. And my family knows that. My husband knows that. And so they want me to be happy. And I'm happiest when I'm serving, especially give people something they haven't had before. And that's adults, healing, love, acceptance, because there's a lot of adults that never healed from whatever else that they grew up with.
The childhood trauma. Yep. It's real. It's real. I want to ask you these last couple of questions. Looking back, what would you tell yourself as an aspiring administrator now, knowing that the things that you know now? What would you tell yourself as you're in this current leadership role?
Trust yourself, trust your gut. There's a million things. And I think we as women do this a lot. We talk ourselves out of a lot, right? So even though we'll have a gut feeling and we know that's the right thing to do, and that's not just decisions on that, but that's taking a job. I moved here from San Diego to take a teaching job. I drove the first year. I commuted and I lived by the border, like not even like north, San Diego. It was by the border, had a house, where we were. And so it was a good 2-hour drive, but it was just weird how it worked out. And so looking back, it's like everything that I've done, even like interviews I bombed, right? Or jobs I didn't get, I ended up where I was supposed to be. And it's hard in the moment to let that go, but to know and keep that belief that you will be where you're supposed to be as long as you're aligned with your purpose. And once you start getting misaligned, the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe in, it's going to make you uncomfortable until you get back in line with your purpose. And so you have to trust that intuition. You have to trust yourself. And that's hard, especially when we talk ourselves like, we don't qualify for that job. Why would we apply for it? Why do we do that? But men do it all the time. But men do it all the time. All the time. Right? Like, I could do that. I can learn it. Why do we not have that same kind of confidence? And why do we not use our networks the same way? So, all of the stuff that I learned mostly through my doctorate, my dissertation was on emotional intelligence primarily, and the effect it had on leadership, on superintendencies specifically. But I did a gender study. So I did some of the, of the differences in leadership, in male and female leadership. So I was able to kind of work that through when I did that comparison. So I know a lot of the discrepancies in the data.
As you're looking ahead, right? Looking ahead into your future, what is it that you want and what is it that you need?
Because I'm a very passionate person, what I need as a leader is to have a stronger leader than myself. I'm able to support and love on people and give them advice like, go ahead and go to your family, take care of yourself and things like that. But I tend to not take my own advice. And so I think as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that that's even more and more important. I want to be able to do that for myself.
And self-care.
And have self-care. Yeah, me too.
We have to take care of ourselves.
So that I can keep going. Because otherwise I'll die early and then it'll just be a whole thing.
Oh my God. Well, all right. And we know that's not happening because you have too much to give. You have too many gifts to share. So it's not happening.
No.
And I'm going to make sure
But I don't want that to happen, because I really do want to be there for my kids, my family, and wherever else my purpose takes me.
Absolutely.
So I have to be better at taking my own advice. Yes. Being like, okay, take a day off.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Go to some, go to fun things. Go with your friends. Be with other women that, lift you up and not, sometimes your role that just, it takes some of that energy away from you because they're angry or whatever. Right. And just how do you make sure that you're with other people that are feeding you and feeding your soul.
Feed your soul. Because it's hungry.
Always.
So where we're going to end on that note on this episode of The Gifted Table, everyone. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it. And as always, stay grounded, innovative, fierce, transparent every day. In other words, stay gifted. We'll see you next time.